Julius Caesar by William Shakespeare. A presentation by Noah McGuire, Jake Ryan, C.J. Schultz, Jesse Brockway, and Josie Ray. How many Romans does it take to kill an emperor, and then how many to avenge him? In the opening of Julius Caesar, Rome is celebrating Caesar's recent victory over his rival, Pompey. Upper-class officials are shown to be discontent with Caesar as a ruler by telling common workmen to go back to work during the holiday. As Caesar is celebrating, he is visited by a soothsayer who warns him to beware the Ides of March. Caius Cassius, a conspirator, attempts to convince Marcus Brutus, Caesar's right-hand man, to oppose Caesar's rule. Earlier that day, Caesar was offered a crown by Mark Antony, his friend, which would make Caesar the emperor of Rome. He refuses 3 times. Brutus greatly opposes an emperorship, which is taken advantage of by Cassius, who strongly dislikes Caesar. The commoners' celebrations go on through the night, marveling the senators. Casca, a conspirator, is told of the night's crazy events by Cicero, a senator, who suggests important events to come. When Cicero leaves, Cassius arrives to persuade Casca to join the conspiracy. Once Cinna, the conspirator, joins them as well, they send him to Brutus's to leave letters that will attempt to convince him to join the plot against Caesar. Brutus joins the conspiracy after the conspirators show up at his door early in the morning. They decide to meet up at Caesar's house to take him to the Senate. Once the conspirators leave, Brutus has an argument with his wife, Portia, but they quickly reconcile. Brutus then leaves for Caesar's house. Meanwhile, Calpurnia, Caesar's wife, is trying to convince him to stay at home because of a nightmare she'd had. When Decius Brutus, a conspirator, finds out that Caesar is contemplating staying home, he urges Caesar to go to the Senate. If Caesar does not, he will be considered a coward and not be offered the emperorship. He lies. On the way to the Senate, Decius and Caesar are joined by Brutus and Mark Antony. Atremodorus, a friend of Caesar's, goes to the Senate to warn Caesar about the plot against him. Portia awaits anxiously for news of the conspiracy's success. Caesar ignores Artemidorus' attempt to warn him of the plot against him. It is then that the conspirators attack Caesar and stab him to death. They bathe their arms and hands in his blood. Mark Antony sends Brutus a message saying that he will follow him if Brutus allows him to speak at Caesar's funeral. Antony seems to be in total support of Brutus, but is secretly planning to turn the people of Rome against the conspirators. During Antony's speech at the funeral, in Act 3, Scene 2, in line 83, he says, "I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him." He also repeats throughout his speech that Brutus is an honorable man. His speech angers the people, and they go off to kill the conspirators. A servant alerts Antony that Octavius Caesar has come to Rome. Meanwhile, Cinna the poet is mistaken for Cinna the conspirator and murdered. Antony, Lepidus, and Octavius, the new leaders of Rome, meet to raise an army to fight Brutus and Cassius. While this occurs, Brutus and Cassius argue. They become angry at each other, but quickly reconcile. It is then that Brutus tells Cassius of Portia's death. Against Cassius's objections, Brutus decides to march to Philippi to challenge Mark Antony and Octavius. That night, he is visited by Caesar's ghost. The battle commences between the conspirators and the new leaders of Rome. Brutus sends all his legions into battle. Cassius mistakenly believes that they have lost the battle and that his friend, Titanium, has been captured. Cassius orders his slave to kill him. When Titanius returns, he sees Cassius's body and Brutus's forces are defeated, causing Brutus to kill himself. Antony and Octavius give Brutus an honorable burial. Shakespeare clearly shows that karma will always catch up with you. Throughout Julius Caesar, the characters reap their rewards and their sufferings. Marcus Brutus kills Caesar, but is then overruled by the Roman people and Mark Antony. He killed Caesar to protect the democracy, but he only ends up in creating an emperorship. Shakespeare wrote mainly comedies and tragedies. A comedy is a form of drama in which a new society of characters, usually made up of a young couple and their friends, struggle against an old society of characters, made up of parents and authority figures. A tragedy is a drama that excites terror or pity in which the protagonist undergoes a moral struggle and is defeated most often because of a flaw in his or her character, but more often because the protagonist is unable to overcome the antagonist. Julius Caesar is a tragedy because of its distinct hierarchy and heavy male influence. In the beginning of Act 3, Scene 2, Caesar's funeral is just beginning. Marcus Brutus explains to the people that assassination was necessary to protect the Roman Republic. Mark Antony then brings in Caesar's body and displays his wounds. He makes it clear that Caesar had left all his money to the people. Angered by Antony's words, the crowd sets off to attack the conspirators. A servant then informs Antony and Octavius Caesar has arrived, and that Brutus and Cassius have fled. Antony's speech is eventually what leads to the death of the conspirators. As he speaks, he uses verbal irony, which is defined as a character saying one thing, but really meaning another. The speech eventually turns the citizens of Rome against the conspirators, which leads to the finality of the conspirators' death. During Antony's speech, he is appealing to the vegetative soul of the plebeians by manipulating the sensitive soul within them. He is aided in this by the fact that he is of the rational soul because he is a man of power.
We will be satisfied. Let us be satisfied.
Then follow me and give me audience, friends. Cassius, go you into the other street, and part the numbers. Those that will hear me speak, let them stay here. Those that will follow Cassius, go with him. And public reasons shall be rendered of Caesar's death.
I will hear Brutus speak.
I will hear Cassius and compare their reasons, when severally we hear them rendered.
The noble Brutus is ascended. Silence.
Be patient till the last. Romans, countrymen, and lovers, hear me for my cause, and be silent that you may hear. Believe me for mine honor, and have respect to mine honor, that you may believe. Ensure me in your wisdom, and awake your senses, that you may the better judge. If there be any in this assembly, any dear friends of Caesar, to him I say that Brutus's love to Caesar was no less than his. If then that friend demands why Brutus rose against Caesar, this is my answer. Not that I loved Caesar less, but that I loved Rome more. Had you rather Caesar were living and die all slaves, than that Caesar were dead, to live all free men? As Caesar loved me, I weep for him. As he was fortunate, I rejoice at it. As he was valiant, I honor him. But as he was ambitious, I slew him. There is tears for his love, joy for his fortune, honor for his valor, and death for his ambition. Who is here so base that would be a bondman? If any, speak, for him have I offered. Who is there so rude that would not be a Roman? If any, speak, for him have I offered. Who is there so vile that will not love his country? If any, speak, for him I have offended. I pause for reply.
None, Brutus, none.
Then none have I offended. I have done no more to Caesar than you shall do to Brutus. The question of his death is enrolled in the Capitol. His glory not exhausted, wherein he was worthy, nor his offenses enforced for which he suffered. Here comes his body, mourned by Mark Antony, who, though he had no hand in his death, shall receive the benefit of his dying, a place in the commonwealth. As which of you shall not? With this I depart, that, as I slew my best lover for the good of Rome, I have the same dagger for myself, when it shall please my country to need my death.
Live, Brutus, live, live.
Bring him with triumph home unto his house.
Give him a statue with his ancestors.
Let him be Caesar.
Caesar's better parts shall be crowned in Brutus.
We will bring him to his house with shouts and clamors.
My countrymen,
Peace, silence. Brutus speaks.
Peace ho.
good countrymen, let me depart alone, and for my sake stay here with Antony. Do grace to Caesar's corpse, and grace his speech, tending to Caesar's glories, which Mark Antony, by our permission, is allowed to make. I do entreat you, not a man depart, save I alone, till Antony have spoke.
Stay ho, and let us hear Mark Antony.
Let him go up into the public chair.
We'll
We'll
hear
hear
him.
him.
Noble
Noble
Antony,
Antony,
go
go
up.
up.
For Brutus's sake, I am beholding to you.
What does he say of Brutus?
He says for Brutus's sake, he finds himself beholding to us all.
To our best he speak no harm of Brutus here.
The Caesar was a trial.
Nay, that's certain. We are blessed that Rome is rid of him.
Peace, let us hear what Antony can say.
You gentle Romans,
Peace.
Ho, let us hear him.
friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. The evil that men do lives after them, the good is oft interred with their bones. So let it be with Caesar. The noble Brutus hath told you Caesar was ambitious. If it were so, it was a grievous fault, and grievously hath Caesar answered it. Here, under leave of Brutus and the rest, for Brutus is an honorable man, so are they all honorable men. Come I to speak in Caesar's funeral. He was my friend, faithful and just to me, but Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man. He hath brought many captives home to Rome, whose ransoms did the general coffers fill. Did this in Caesar seem ambitious? When the poor have cried, Caesar hath wept. Ambition should be made of sterner stuff. Yet Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man. You did all see that on the Lupercal I thrice presented him a kingly crown, which he did thrice refuse. Was this ambition? Yet Brutus says he was ambitious, and sure he is an honorable man. I speak not to disprove what Brutus spoke, but I am here to speak what I do know. You all did love him once, not without cause. What cause withholds you, then, to mourn for him? O judgment, thou art fled to brutish beasts, and men have lost their reason. Bear with me, my heart is in the coffin there with Caesar, and I must pause till it come back to me.
Methinks there is much reason in his sayings.
If thou consider rightly of the matter, Caesar has had great wrongs.
Has he, masters? I fear there will a worse come in his place.
Mark to his words, he would not take the crown. Therefore, 'tis certain he was not ambitious.
If it be found so, some will dear abide it.
Poor soul, his eyes are red as fire with weeping.
There's not a nobler man in Rome than Antony.
Now mark him. He begins again to speak.
But yesterday the word of Caesar might have stood against the world. Now he lies here, and none so poor to do him reverence. O masters, if I were disposed to stir your hearts and minds to mutiny and rage, I should do Brutus wrong and Cassius wrong, who you all know are honorable men. I will not do them wrong. I rather choose to wrong the dead, to wrong myself and you, than I will wrong such an honorable man. But here's a parchment with the seal of Caesar I found in his closet. 'Tis his will. Let but the commons hear this testament, which, pardon me, I do not mean to read, and they would go and kiss dead Caesar's wounds, and dip their napkins in his sacred blood. Yea, beg a hair of him for memory, and dying, mention it within their wills, bequeathing it as a rich legacy unto their issue.
We'll hear the will. Read it, Mark Antony.
The
will.
We
We'll hear Caesar's will.
Have patience, gentle friends, I must not read it. It is not met. You know how Caesar loved you. You are not wood, you are not stones, but men. And, being men, hearing the will of Caesar, it will inflame you, it will make you mad. 'Tis good you know not that you are his heirs, for if you should, oh, what would come of it?
Read the will. We'll hear it, Antony.
You shall read us the will, Caesar's will.
Will you be patient? Will you stay a while? I have e'er shot myself to tell you it. I fear I wrong the honorable men whose daggers have stabbed Caesar. I do fear it.
They were traitors. Honorable men?
The
will, the testament. They were villains, murderers. The will. Read the will.
You will compel me then to read the will. Then make a ring about the corpse of Caesar, and let me show you him that made the will. Shall I descend, and will you give me leave?
Come down. Descend.
You shall have leave.
A ring. Stand around.
Stand from the hearse, stand from the body.
Room for Antony, most noble Antony.
Nay, press not so upon me. Stand far off.
Stand back. Room. Bear back.
If If you have tears, prepare to shed them now. You all do know this mantle. I remember the first time Caesar put it on. 'Twas on a summer's evening in his tent, the day he overcame the Nervi. Look, in his place ran Cassius' daggers through. See what a rent the envious Casca made. Through this the well-beloved Brutus stabbed, and, as he plucked his cursed steel away, mark how the blood of Caesar followed it. As rushing out of the doors to be resolved, if Brutus so unkindly knocked or no. For Brutus, as you know, was Caesar's angel. Judge, O you gods, how dearly Caesar loved him. This was the most unkindest cut of all, for when the noble Caesar saw him stab, intrigued, more strong than traitor's arms, quite vanquished him, then burst his mighty heart, and in his mantle, muffling up his face, even at the base of Pompey's statue, which all the while ran blood, great Caesar fell. Oh, what a fall was there, my countrymen! Then I and you and all of us fell down, whilst bloody treason flourished over us. Oh, now you weep, and I perceive you feel the dint of pity. These are gracious drops. Kind souls, what? Weep you when you but behold our Caesar's vesture wounded. Look you here. Here is himself, marred as you see with traitors.
Go.
O piteous spectacle!
O noble Caesar!
O woeful day!
O traitors, villains!
O most bloody sight!
We will be revenged. Revenge, about, seek, burn,
fire, kill,
slay, let not a traitor live.
Stay, countrymen.
Peace there, hear the noble Antony.
We'll hear him, we'll follow him, we'll die with him.
Good friends, sweet friends, let me not stir you up to such a sudden flood of mutiny. They that have done this deed are honorable. What private griefs they have, alas, I know not, that made them do it. They are wise and honorable, and will no doubt with reasons answer you. I come not, friends, to steal away your hearts. I am no orator, as Brutus is. But, as you know me all, a plain, blunt man that love my friend, and that they know full well that gave me public leave to speak of him. For I have neither wit nor words, nor worth, action nor utterance, nor the power of speech to stir men's blood. I only speak right on. I tell you that which you yourselves do know. Show you sweet Caesar's wounds, poor dumb mouths, and bid them speak for me. But were I Brutus, and Brutus Antony, for that there were an Antony would ruffle up your spirits and put a tongue in every wound of Caesar that should move the stones of Rome to rise.
We'll mutiny.
We'll burn the house of Brutus.
Away then, come seek the conspirators.
Yet hear me, countrymen, yet hear me speak.
Peace,
Ho, hear Antony, most noble Antony.
Why, friends, you go to you know not what. Wherein hath Caesar thus disturbed your loves? Alas, you know not. I must tell you then. You have forgot the will I told you of.
Most true, the will. Let's stay and hear the will.
Here is the will, and under Caesar's seal, to every Roman citizen he gives, to every several man, 75 drachmas.
Most noble Caesar will revenge his death.
O royal Caesar!
Hear me with patience.
Peace, ho!
Moreover, he hath left you all his walks, his private arbors, and new planted orchards on his side Tiber. He hath left them you, and to your heirs forever, common pleasures to walk abroad and recreate yourselves. Here was a Caesar, when comes such another?
Never, never, come, away, we'll burn his body in the holy place, and with the brands fire the traitors' houses, take up the body.
Go fetch fire.
Pluck down benches.
Pluck down forms, windows, anything.
Now let it work. Mischief, thou art afoot. Take thou what course thou wilt.
Sir,
How now, fellow?
Sir Octavius is already come to Rome.
Where is he?
He and Lepidus are at Caesar's house.
And thither I will straight to visit him. He comes upon a wish. Fortune is merry, and in this mood it will give us anything.
I heard him say Brutus and Cassius are rid like madmen through the gates of Rome.
Belike they had some notice of the people, how I had moved them. Bring me to Octavius.
Go.
My name is Noah McGuire, and I played the part of Mark Antony. I am also a senator of Rome and a close friend of Caesar. After Caesar's murder, I turn the people of Rome against the conspirators. I do this by appealing to the sensitive souls of the plebeians that have gathered at Caesar's funeral. I use very subtle tricks of language to change their minds. They turn and revolt and begin to hunt down the murderers. I, with Octavius Caesar, then lead the charge against Brutus and his men. After Brutus's death, I acknowledge that he was in fact an honorable man and a victim of circumstance. In my opinion, this play was entertaining and well written, but slightly boring at times. The story was involving, but the moral lesson seems slightly obvious.
Hi, I'm Jake Ryan. I played Marcus Brutus. I am a senator and a high-ranking official of Rome. In the beginning, I am not against having Julius Caesar rule. After a crown has been offered to Caesar, a group of men, along with my brother-in-law Cassius, show up at my door to convince me that Caesar is a bad ruler and will bring hard times to Rome. I act out of the sensitive soul and am won over by their persuasion. I soon become the leader of the conspiracy against Caesar. Casca, a fellow conspirator, convinces me to kill Caesar, and I am left with no choice but to do so. After Caesar's death, Mark Antony turns the common people against me for the murder. This leads to the battle against Mark Antony and the plebeians. Haunted by Caesar's ghost and the death of my friend Cassius, I commit suicide. In my opinion, this play has been written very well and taught me more about Roman society. I did think it was very stale and boring throughout the play.
I'm CJ Schultz, and I played the first plebeian as well as the servant to Octavius. I'm just a common Roman man, and when Caesar died, I went to his funeral. When Antony made his speech, I was at first happy that Caesar was dead, because he seemed to be a bad person. I wanted Brutus to be my next leader. However, Antony first said he was not there to praise Caesar, but to bury him, but then continued to talk highly of Caesar and making Brutus sound bad. My feelings began to change, and I became angry at Brutus for killing Caesar, since he seemed like he could have been a good leader. After Antony's speech was finished, I stormed off in search of the conspirators, ready to kill them. I'm of the vegetative soul, which means I was easily manipulated by Mark Antony and Brutus, who were rational souls, and this influenced many of my actions. As for being the servant of Octavius, I am of the vegetative soul completely, and my only purpose was to receive orders from and serve Octavius. I thought the play was slow and that there were many parts where people talked about tedious things. After Caesar's death, the play did pick up in pace, and there seemed to be more of a reason for things happening.
I am Josie Ray, and I played the part of the third plebeian. I am a peasant of Rome and part of the vegetative soul. I am easily persuaded by Brutus that Caesar's death was for the best. I easily concur and praise Brutus, but when Antony takes the pulpit, he appeals to our sensitive souls under the guise of reason. This angers my simple mind, and I turn to violence and rage against the conspirators. I thought that this play was a well-written story about deceit and betrayal. At times, it was boring. It taught me to think before I kill a well-liked person.
I'm Jessie Brockway, and I played the part of the second and fourth plebeians. I am just a common person of Rome and exist on the vegetative level. I, like the other plebeians, am easily manipulated by Brutus and Mark Antony, but I didn't understand that until later. Brutus speaks at Caesar's funeral and convinces me that Brutus should be the next ruler. But later, Antony speaks, and what he says then turns me against Brutus. This makes me incredibly angry, and I go off with the other plebeians to hunt down the conspirators who killed Caesar, who could have been a good ruler. I thought that the play was also very well written, but also very dull. I didn't understand parts of it, which took the fun out of it for me. A theme of this play is karma will always catch up to you. In this scene, Mark Antony uses verbal irony to change the minds of the crowd, swaying the people of Rome against the murderers. The people of Rome eventually cause the conspirators to commit suicide, which acts as karmic backlash. The multiple deaths caused by Mark Antony contributes to the classification of this play as a tragedy.